Hey there, fellow miners. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld Castle in the Void. Episode 3, Beating the Castle from the Mines. Alright, let's park here. It's closest to the kitchen, I think. And I think what I'm going to do is make the decision to get rid of that one life support unit. So that it can be like a proper, freezer. So we'll do something like this. Dumping stockpile here. And this is for, critically important for fresh, animal, non-insect corpses. For now, we have a lot of wood and we don't have a lot of anything else. So I'm just gonna make this out of wood. Little wooden door. And then inside, we'll have a butcher table like that. Actually, you know, this building could be smaller. I don't think we're going to have a lot of corpses regularly to butcher, so I'll shrink it a bit. So Felix and Scorp go haul the dromedaries. And then, of course, we have, like, all of the steel to haul. And what I'm going to be doing is sending Felix down to the surface with Scorp. Scorp will continue to get steel, and Felix will, or maybe send Runloth down. Well, I know Scorp wants to get sent down, but I was thinking maybe Scorp and Runloth and have the Runloth, like, set up a butchery down there to get a whole bunch of yummies. I'm not really sure. But I know in 13 hours, at least Felix will have to be down there. Alright, so Butcher Creature, forever. This should be only animal corpses that are non-insects. Ingredient radius will be small. And then we bring it to a shelf. The next thing is... life support goes poof. I did that intentionally. Because the life support produces heat. And because it brings it up to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, or 23 Celsius, or 21 Celsius rather, it's fundamentally preventing it from ever being a proper freezer. And if I have meat up here, obviously I'm going to want to, like, start to freeze the stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a, I don't feel like I need to freeze my butchery, because it's very, very, very unlikely that I will ever, have corpses sit in there for very long because of how, like, bio-unavailable they are. But, set up a freezer for it. Biofuel refining is now done. And I think I'm going to move over to microelectronics. Make the big jump. I like how this room... oh, don't roof that up. No. This room is like a vacuum. Doesn't really matter to us. So 11 hours for Felix and potentially Scorp to go back to surface. The other thing I'm going to want is to bring more meals with me. So I'm going to, now that we have a proper freezer, I can actually increase the meals. In fact, I'm going to suspend the simple meals and make fine meals. Because we have the materials now. So, I want to bring more meals down with me, because we have, like, people that, you know, are hungry or whatever. And then, temporarily, I will open up these doors to re-pressurize the kitchen and the freezer. And the butchery. Now that the doors are closed and all that. Cool. That part's done. Once we have a few more meals cooked up, I have enough fuel for another few trips. I have 190, so we can do like 3 more trips before we need to refuel it. And we did just research biofuel refinery. So the idea here is, of course, to biofuel refine chem fuel. So that we can, you know, reuse the shuttle more than just the once. Felix and Scorp. Set to load. With 2 hemogen and 10 meals. Go. Could I put a vent in here? I could, or I could just leave the door open. Leaving the door open, it feels easier to me. Okay, they're all loaded up. Launch. Down to surface. I'll park in the same spot. And now that we have repressurized this, I can close the doors and get it cold. All right. I am going to need yet another bed. I'm going to keep Felix awake for a moment so he actually sleeps in a bed. It's terrible levels of accommodation for our vampire lord, but whatever. And quests, hunted praetor, except for Felix. He's a huskar? You need my help as a husker? Are you kidding me? So they're husker with... What the hell? You have a psylink with no... You have 4 psylinks, but no psycasts? You're the most jank huskar. Well, I guess you're psychically dull or deaf. So, like, yeah, you can't really What? Why do you even have these? If you're psychically deaf as a huskar, maybe you became a huskar after his implant. I don't know. He's also a wimp. Well, being a wimp, I don't think matters because... No, I guess it would. But I'm gonna have Felix go help out Tokyo Troy, whatever his name is. Because he's like the most pathetic huskar I've ever seen in my life. Really good combat stats, but like you don't even have a weapon, dude. What are you even doing? I kind of want to use Hemodrain. Oh, that's an animal. Right, that's not gonna work. Dead. Yeah, don't bite me, you little rabies bunny. Now it makes sense he's running from a hare. Yeah, he's legitimately pathetic. So, like, totally makes sense. I don't care if you have acceptable food. Shut up. Alright, food policies. New policy. Fine meals. I actually didn't make one of those. So, our newfound meat would have gone to waste. So Felix... Actually, everyone's going to get fine meals, including these guys, because I only really brought fine meals down with me. And Felix, you are going to haul the food and feed the folks. Oh, God, it almost landed on him. How funny would that be? You failed the quest. It's like you parked on his head. How is it my fault? And now I can become a novice. I obviously want my novice ceremony up in space because there's no way to have a nice ceremony down here in this like horrible barracks. So I'm going to be waiting for that novice ceremony for when everybody's back up in space, because the more participants that join, the more likely I am to get honor as a result. Alright, I do think getting a ground-based butcher is wise, so I'm going to get one of those up, which means, Felix, you are going to be plant cut growing and constructing that tomorrow, and then hunting while Scorp mines. Guide role unfulfilled. Okay. I haven't been doing rolls, and I could have. One of the advantages of doing rolls right now is... And maybe I should do that right now, is it would allow Scorp to, like, mine super quick if I gave Felix the proper leader role that he's supposed to have. Do I not even need spectators? He can just be like, yeah, I'm leader now. That works. Where is Scorp? Oh, so you're hunting. Don't. Sorry, Dromedary. I mean, I'll be back for you. What the? Oh, that's and then I'll work drive Scorp so that Scorp supermines. Buzzsaw mining time. All right. I don't want to regain Psyfocus down here. But what I will do is make that butchery table out of trees that our deer leader attempts to cut. And I will set up a guide roll eventually, once we're all back in space together. God, these guys are hanging around a long time. Can you just quit? Oh, right. Let's change your food. Oh, no, 5 meals? Why can't I feed you? I guess you're not hungry enough? This looks pretty hungry to me. Did I set up the policy wrong? No, because I've seen them eat the 5 meals. Whatever. Feed them when they're hungry. Ah, there we go. Alright, let's... And the reason I'm doing the butchery down here is, like, the carry... Like, when you... The weight of the dromedary, or whatever we end up hunting, is, like... majority, like, blood and bone and things that we just don't care to bring up to surface. To space, rather. So, I'm trying to cut down on, or increase efficiency. The other thing I could do for Scorp is to build a little wall torch there, so you can see what the hell you're mining. There you go. $66 out of 95. Got it. Can you guys, like, leave already? Holy hell, I'm running out of food. Feeding a bunch of freeloaders. And the butchery is done. So, this butcher zone, I'm gonna move. Let's build a roof over it. Build a roof over all of this. You don't hunt yet. Oh, hold on. Don't hunt yet. Sail's leaving. Alright, bye Sail. And don't forget to tell Patrola that we are, like, super cool, and you're welcome. Alright, so now we're hunting the dromedaries and we can butcher the dromedaries. The butcher creature here will be... let's just drop the meat, it's fine. We're only going to butcher insects. And the ingredient radius is going to be very small, because I don't want to go, like, running around the map tile for corpses. Good. Bunch of charity cases? Yeah, that they are. Alright, our freezer is properly frozen. If you take a look at the temperature overlay, obviously it's a cold room, and the meat and stuff in there won't spoil, which is great. Meat is very hard to come by up in space. Usually. I don't really care who cooks or butchers. It doesn't really matter because you both suck at it. Whatever the case is, I'm going to want to load that stuff up into the shuttle ASAP so that it doesn't get wasted. Alright, this steel bed can come up to space with us. RCV, thank you for the gifted subs. I'll drink to that. Cheers. And we have about 100 kilograms of weight left. So, start mining out more steel. Sheep join. Weird. I mean, hypothetically, I could bring the sheep to surface. To space. But, I think they're just going to become lamb chop, play along type deals. So, handle Scorp full. Scorp go round them up over to the hitching post. Maybe I'll change my mind. But we just don't have a lot of infrastructure to feed them at the moment, which is the problem of keeping sheep in space. I could poll on you. Should I keep sheep in space? Yay or nay? That wasn't supposed to be capitalized. Then no. I'm not trying to, like, force you to vote no. If I cared, I would not poll on it. All right. Camel hide, meat, steel. These sheep are like suspiciously lightweight. Good God. 45 kilograms? Lightest sheep ever! Don't even bother hunting that one. And in fact, if Scorp isn't grabbing both, maybe grab the other one? I don't know. Or Drake, thank you for the gifted subs. I could hypothetically keep the sheep down here. It's just keeping them protected on a map tile that we're not likely to constantly be on is a bit of an issue. Because, like, predators and stuff. Oh, you grab both. Okay. So these sheep can just chill here until you guys ultimately vote to deal with them. What I'm going to be doing is heading up to space. With maybe the pregnant ewe? Leaving you there. Oh, let's feed you one more time. Okay, immediately we need to bring, because, you know, sheep can't breathe in Atmo or in vacuum. So you are going to rope and drag in. And it survived because I parked, like, next to it. So for now, I'll rope it to this room while you guys ultimately decide. So 1 more minute on that poll of whether we keep sheep or not. And then we're going to want to get a guide roll going. And then the novice going as well. Now, one thing that we're going to want for our visitors, for people that show up to do, you know, the sort of bestower role type stuff, is we're going to need like a landing pad that is close and accessible, because the bestower will probably end up with a vac gland, but they're not vac immune, they're just vac resistant. And being only vac resistant means that I'm going to need them to land close to a pressurized section of my base so that they just don't die en route. Because we're trying to build up our empire rank, and killing bestowers would work actively against that for obvious reasons. All right, the decay, the stuff that would decay the quickest has been moved. We have a good amount of steel now. Now, a lot of that obviously is going to go to the accelerator. And how are you doing? You're okay. I don't know what's going on with her. She's just chilling. All right, looks like we are going to keep him in space. All right. So we guarded the night. Next up, we are going to assign guide, roll, and bestow ceremony. So once everyone's up, I'll do the guide roll. For the bestower ceremony, I was thinking of a landing beacon. Now, eventually, I think it would be really good to have like an internal landing beacon. Now, they do require like a 9x9, but like a landing beacon like this, where we fill the gap here with heavy bridges, so that they can land and like immediately go through a door or something like that. The idea for a kill box that I had was to create like a door here and lure the enemies into our base through here. And the reason for that is we have all these window opportunities, right? Like if I have doors here, we can shoot out at incomers where they can't melee us back, and I can do the same over here. So this is the sort of deep water tactic, right? And I think that makes sense, right? Because you have this area that we could create like portholes to shoot out of, but they can't walk in. So an entryway here, meaning that I wouldn't want shuttles landing near here, because this is going to be like a hostile choke point. So landing down here or somewhere else, somewhere farther out would make sense. Now for the bestower, the first bestower ceremony, I don't know if I'm going to go so far as to like keep them from landing somewhere stupid. We'll see. The empty zone near the kitchen is too small. It has to be a 9x9 for a landing pad. This is... I would have to break some walls or something. It's 8 high, not 9 high. I could do it, like, internal to the base. The problem is, of course, we have an overhead mountain, so it doesn't really work in that case. It really has to be outside. There's no inside area that is, like, large enough. Like, this is too small, this is too small, so on and so forth. Okay, I am going to want to continue making simple meals for the prisoner. So I'll put those back on the bill. And for a guide, neither of them really have any social skills to speak of. So neither of them really make for good guides. But Rylus, they're all sort of friends. So it doesn't, I don't really think it matters one way or another, because they're all equally able to be guides, I guess. So I'm going to do, an ideology room here, role change, and we'll do Ruinloth. With Felix spectating. And this activates the guide roll, which is upsetting people not to have it. We'll get rid of the no guide. Okay, guide roll fulfilled. And death rest accelerator built. Nice. Well, bestow ceremony is the goal. There's also the whole, like, these sheep need to be shipped up to space, and then Sari here is, like, eventually gonna malnourished die. We don't have a lot of chem fuel. So before we go back down, it's paramount that we make more chem fuel for the shuttle, because we don't We can't come back to space without that. We have 686 wood in our colony right now, so what I'm going to do is, at least for right now, dump all the wood next to the biorefinery and biorefine wood rather than organics. Because we can always go back down to surface and cut some wood. I could also potentially just land the shuttle in the tropical rainforest rather than the arid shrubland, which obviously doesn't have a lot of wood, and just cut down a whole lot of wood and bring it up to space for chem fuel processing. That's, like, not an impossibility. It's also a thing that we could have our own shuttle's landing pad. So our own shuttle could land, like, here, whereas, like, the official landing pad has to be, like, a 9x9. So we can turn these, like, voids, like this void right here, into our own shuttle landing pad, put a door there, right next to our stockpile, and this is where our shuttle goes. But, like, Imperial shuttles obviously have to land somewhere else. Alright. Let's assign crafting, and I'm going to quickly refine up some chem fuel so that we can make a return trip down to Sari before she is dead. Because she is working on being dead. She's speedrunning death. Another thing we're going to need is, because you want me to ranch sheep, put a stockpile of rice, call it sheep rice. And it looks like Scorp's eager to get back down to surface for some more mining. Oh, the simple meals we make really ought to be out of veg only. No, nothing about it. Because I saw some of the meat-based ones. But meats has to be imported. It's kind of a precious good. Alright, shuttle's refueled. Do one more refueling. It's kind of late at night, but I really don't think what's-her-name can survive much longer. So Scorp, go down to surface with 10 meals. And we'll leave Felix up here to research. Launch. You're never going to rescue anyone in spaceport, Drake. How would they get there? It's not a thing that happens. To answer your question, it's the incidents that happen in space, and I mentioned this before. The incidents that happen in space are a very small subset of all potential incidents, and incidents that don't work in space don't trigger in space. Like the dude fleeing from an animal that we just did, right? The bunny was chasing the praetor or whatever. It can't happen in space because, yeah, bunnies can't chase you in space. So there's a lot of events that just can't trigger when you're in orbit. And we aren't going to get those, which is why we're doing a multi-colony, because there's no other way around it. So there aren't going to be transport pod rescuees in space because they can't leave on, you know, they can't leave under their own power. So there's a lot of things that will happen which, you know, we don't need to worry. Like there are the questions of like, does it work in space? RimWorld has already like Odyssey is programmed to not allow things that shouldn't happen in space to happen in space, in other words. Alright, bye, Sarai. Glad you're gone, because, like, feeding you is a right pain. Alright, so those two beds I'll just bring up to space, because, you know, it doesn't hurt to have more beds. And then we'll also bring the rams. That's 90 kilograms, and the beds are, like, 35 apiece. So we just want to amass a whole bunch of steel and import more steel. Are the sheep hungry? No. They've been grazing. I could have made the hitching spot closer to the grass so they could graze, but there's plenty of grazing space around here, I think, for them. All right, Runloth, what are you working on? You're cooking? Cool. And with all this imported steel and components, well, we don't have a lot of components, actually. So maybe once Scorp gets some steel, I'll go after another component node. The hope is to turn that into more hydroponic basins so we can support a larger population. Now that we're supporting the sheep, it's going to be longer. I didn't say this out loud because I feel like it would be thumb on the scale type situation. But because we added the sheep, it's going to be even longer until we wake up the ancient soldiers. Because the sheep are essentially eating the food that I would have otherwise given the ancient soldiers. So, maybe you have some voters' regret. But obviously, there's only so much food that I can produce. We need a hemogen donor. And you want me to have sheep. So, for me to start waking up these ancients and to potentially recruit them. Because we can wake them and kill them. Because that's not a burden on our food. But waking them and feeding them means it's going to take a little bit longer. But I will try to speed up the process with Scorp, blowing through ancient components and steel sites so that we can grow a lot more food locally so we can support those potential joiners. And of course, it gets a little bit easier when Felix has more abilities, because when Felix has more abilities to like crowd control and neutralize enemies, those ancients are far less likely to die in the process of trying to recruit them. So there is a bit of an advantage to waiting until Felix is a little bit stronger. Meaning, having him spend more of his day psi-focus gaining. The psi-focus gain speed that he gets now is more because each piece... So the way the Death Casket Prey works is... your psi-focus gain is 3% per death rest facility up to 60%. So, if you take a look here, psi-focus gain, 2 death rest nearby, 6%. And that goes up to 20 attached buildings within a 10-tile radius. So there's a huge advantage to have a massive psi-focus gain rate there if I eventually build an elegant death rest room, which is one of the goals of the series, for obvious reasons. Because the more powerful Felix is, the easier it is to defend his castle in the void. One of the other disadvantages of having a base in space, no one can flee. Surface colonies, obviously, when half of the enemies die, for most types of raids, obviously not like insect raids or mech raids, but most humanoid raids, when half die, they flee. In space, there's nowhere to flee. You can't leave, which means that they will fight until they die. There's no fleeing at 50%. There's no trying to kidnap and retreat. There's no trying to steal stuff and leave. Basically, they're here with no retreat, so they're here and will fight to the death. So that's another disadvantage of space colonies. One which makes combat up here even more challenging. So for Felix to be really powerful and for him to control the raiders through his psycasting is going to be, I think, pretty important in the scheme of things. Uh-oh, that's not good. Scorp has developed a flesh-eating infection known as organ decay in his right lung. The affected organ will slowly lose function over the next 31 days before dying completely. Got it. Well, you know, last I checked, Dyer has 2 organs, 2 lungs, and Ruinloth has an inspired surgery for 1.6 more days. Nothing happening here. Don't worry about it. Well, you misogynist cannibal, you're gonna get cut up. Or misandrist, rather. Cannibal? I like how he's male and hates other males. Really dislikes and distrusts men. Well, see, a woman just cut you up. So we have a spare lung for Scorp. When Scorp comes back to Orb. So how close are we to storage max? We got a little bit ways to go, even if I bring the beds. So let's keep mining. Oh, there we go! Psycaster level 3. I was literally checking on that because I saw him praying. Okay. What psycast to unlock? So, we now have the option to get Word of Offering, which is like a beckon with a give me your blood. So beckon like forces a pawn to run to you, and this will force them to offer their blood to the caster. That leads to Bloodright, which creates like a little blood orb that follows you around that increases your psi sensitivity for a few hours. Sort of like the focus psycast, which just increases your own, like, focus. Bloodright is similar-ish, and it depends on the current hemogen level. So having hemo pumps makes this real strong. But there you go. There's the options for psycast to unlock. You can vote now. Alright, that's probably enough weight. I'm gonna bring all the meals back up with me because they don't weigh very much. Yeah, that's close enough to max weight. I'll leave 1 blood down there. Let's get this loaded up and get back up to space. And once Scorp's back up here, we're obviously going to want to give him a lung. So he's moving at like 100% speed. He's not in any way negatively affected by his condition. Okay, shuttles up and launch. Now there's no one, technically speaking, there's no one really guarding this surface base, but I invested so little into it that if it burned to the ground, I'd be like, oh well, and just build another one. Oh, crap. Scorp, why would you do that? Oh, my bad. What am I doing? They might not live. Whoa! Alright, how bad are you? Actually, not as bad as I thought you would be. Tough rams. Okay, these guys are gonna get... actually, I don't have any herbal medicines, so it doesn't really matter. One thing that would be nice is if I, really dedicated this towards being a ranch. So I'm going to replace the gates with fence gates. The next trip I take down to surface, I might want to consider sending Ruinloth and just cutting as much trees as I can for wood for chem fuel. But maybe only after I, oh, shoot. We're puking. Oh, well. Get wrecked, dude. Maybe only after I, you know, do a lot of farming and moving the rice around and stuff. looking good. This base is looking a bit more home-like and a bit less abandoned Dead Space-like, which is good. Fire foam just got researched. We weren't actually researching it. We were just reading the book for fire notes on fire safety devices. So nice, I guess. And you guys want closed wounds? I'll call that one a little early. I meant to hit the less time there. So Felix, you can close your own wounds with your mind. All right. The current priority now is the novice ceremony. And I think I'm going to run the risk of having the Bestower not have a dedicated landing pad, because I can't imagine that they wouldn't be able to make it to a door in time. So in the morning when everyone's up, I'm going to do the bestowing ceremony and then the organ decay operation. You know, actually, I might not want to waste the work drive. So maybe I'll send Scorp back down to surface to take advantage of the full work drive instead. I think I like that better. And then we'll do the amass, steal, and then bestow. Scorp, thank you for the gifted subs. Way long ago before I started. I appreciate it. You are alive. You do have some organ decay, but we're working to fix that. So don't you worry. A fix is in. Another thing I'm going to want to do in this room is like rip up the floors and maybe eventually put in straw. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld Castle in the Void, which originally streamed live on Twitch as a miniseries marathon. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. I am not, however, looking for feedback because this streamed once only as a marathon and it cannot be incorporated. If you would like to join my online community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it. If you'd like to join my Patreon page, you can also find a link to that in the description as well. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, especially those that suggested this specific scenario, which would be Ruinloth, Felix, and Scorp, and also viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you on next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Sanguophage worshippers.